Es la venta que comience la alegría en JCPenney. Disfruta esta temporada con hasta 50% de descuento en selección de ropa de cama para el invierno o artículos de cocina Cuisinart, Wilton e Instant Pot. Además, ahorra hasta 50% en ropa de invierno para todos. Y ahorra 25% extra con tu cupón. Y comienza a celebrar con ofertas de Black Friday en jcp.com desde este domingo. JCPenney. Ofertas válidas del 29 de octubre al 5 de noviembre. Aplican condiciones y exclusiones. Detalles en la tienda o jcp.com.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by PacificWestBamboo.com. Check out Pacific West Bamboo if you need any kind of craft grade or construction grade bamboo products. They're located in the Pacific Northwest, and they can and do ship nationwide. Now, if this is the first time you're listening to this show, please check out OppermanReport.com, and we have a members section there where you can sign up, become a member, and we have all kinds of exclusive content that you can't find any other way. We're here today. We're doing a special show about the White House boys. Now, this is not the White House where the president lives. This is the Dozier School for Boys in Florida, where it was a house of horrors, a school of horrors, you might call it. And I believe they even found 180 dead bodies buried on the property there. So this is a really extreme case of abuse here. We have two guests with us, Jerry Cooper and Bill Price, and they are the president and vice president of officialwhitehouseboys.org. That's the website you can go to and find more information. So guys, are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Why don't we start with you, Jerry, and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to Bill Price.
Okay. My name is Jerry Cooper. I was what you call a White House boy, and so the audience understands the term White House. There was a building located on that school property that they would take us and beat us. I mean, it was no more than a flogging room and very, very bad ordeal to have to go through, but I want the people to understand why we are dubbed the White House boys, because that's where we took some extremely, extremely brutal beatings at the school. I'm the president of the official White House boys, and Bill Price, who will be talking here shortly, is the vice president. We have lost so many men in the past 8 years since this has come to light in the public eyes that I've even lost, like I said, I lost my vice president here just a short time ago, and we're at that age category now that, we go to a lot of funerals, don't we, Bill?
Yes, sir.
I mean, we go to a lot of them. And to let the people understand what this is about better, Ed, let me describe us, and we'll go from here. The Florida School for Boys was the first name given to that school and back in 1900, and then it went to the Florida Industrial School for Boys, and that was the name of it when Bill Price and I were there at that time. And then, of course, a little later on, it became known as the Dozier School, named after Arthur Dozier, who used to be the superintendent there when Bill and I was on that property. And people always say to me, why didn't all this abusive stuff that took place there, deaths, rapes, murders, and I'm going to give them the reason why. When I first came out of there at the age of 16, just before I turned 17, I had myself reported a murder that I witnessed along with Bill Price on the football team And I was warned this. You say one more word, and this is after I got out, you're going to end up right back in there, or you're going to end up going to Apalachicola. So a lot of us, when we tried to report this abuse once outside, we were stopped, and I mean stopped with threats even after leaving that particular school. And people wonder, well, why did it all come out 50 years later, half a century later? Well, when the Dozier school literally got shut down back in 2010, then the news went rampant, about the school, Ed. Are you following me?
Yeah.
All right, and the public jumped on it immediately, and I'm going to tell you that we deal with people, news reporters, individuals that work with children from all over the world, and I mean all over the world. At this point, there's approximately 2 billion people that the Tampa Bay newspaper ran a consensus on, and there's approximately 2 billion people that know at this time of what happened in the state of Florida. And all of them are asking, why and how did this possibly happen? We have been dubbed the most abusive situation of child abuse that's ever happened in the United States of America in its history. We are dubbed the worst case. So if you would like at this time, maybe Bill, you should tell them how you got there, Bill, and we'll go from there. Okay,
sir? Wait, why don't we do this? Before we get to Bill, Jerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, though? I know you mentioned how you just wrote a song and you produced a song. A little bit about your personal life.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Let me start it this way, though. I have so many men. Well, we have, Bill, 400 and some of us left from the 50s and 60s, I would say.
Yeah.
We had so many men, Ed, that were so severely damaged, and it's been a proven fact, that they were so severely damaged at a young age, they went on with their lives never to hardly accomplish much of anything. Well, I was one of them that I said to myself, because I knew a lot of these guys months later after getting out of that school would end up either in Apalachicola State Prison for young men, or they'd end up in Rayford State Prison. And I will say this, that a lot of these men never, ever recuperated in any form or fashion. And I decided at the time that I was going to do something with my life the best I could, even though it really damaged me. It damaged me physically and mentally. And I went on to I joined the Army, got myself in trouble in the Army because of my anger. I carried an anger that I couldn't control. And it's not a brag, but I will tell you that even getting out of the Army, I was a worker all my life. I would continuously get into, fights, even with police officers, mostly police officers. And it caused me a lot of hassle in my life because I knew that all this was coming out of me from what I experienced in Mariana. And when I laid in the bed one night at 2 o'clock in the morning after receiving over 100 lashes to my body, I actually wept. I was 16 years old, but I had buried my head in the pillow. I was damaged severely, just cut the ribbons, broken foot, and I swore that I would never, ever, ever again let any man lay a hand on me, and it cost me a lot of problems later on in life. But I went on with my life. I managed to have a great country singing career. I had some hit records back in the 80s. As a matter of fact, I released a song this past year just to be doing it, to see if I still had it. And by gosh, it went number one in October on the World Indie Charts, and I was just, really shocked over that. But it was just something to see if I still had it. I also went on to be a lineman. I worked the high lines for a lot of years, and then I went to what we call underground construction communication, which included power, telephone, etc., and learned how to run heavy equipment. Well, a few years after that, I joined the Operating Engineers Union and became a heavy equipment operator in the Washington, D.C. area, and later on, I opened a business called Dynasty Equipment Corporation back in 1983. Well, when I sold the business in 1988, it was on the who's list. We had done that well with what we were doing, and I sold the company when I was 41 years old to my partner and retired.
Oh, very good.
So I've been retired since 1941, and I live here in Cape Coral, Florida. And I joined in this thing for one reason. I knew, and I'm going to use names. I'm sorry, but I'm going to use names. Troy Tidwell was one of the worst people that worked at that school as far as beating children and so many other issues which are still being investigated. I just could not ever stop thinking about my friend that I lost in the football practice that day inside that gym, which was an illegal football practice at the time. And even the newspaper article I sent you about it, they lied in their own newspaper about his death. So it was a cover-up. Well, after the FDLE got involved in this years ago, after Governor Chris had ordered a full investigation, when I told the FDLE that I witnessed this murder, it took them a long time to approach Troy Tidwell. And Troy Tidwell, when he was approached, took the Fifth Amendment, Ed. You know what that means, don't you?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, he took the Fifth. He stands on the Fifth today. And I don't suppose the man will ever be arrested, but he's a murderer. He was a child abuser. He was a sexual abuser, and I'll let the whole world know about it because I even challenged him to take a polygraph, which I took, which you have in your hands, I believe, don't you, sir?
Yeah, I have a copy of that, yeah.
Okay, and you see that I passed that detector, that polygraph 100%, because I wanted to prove after he was on film with his testimony, he stated, I never gave a boy no more than 10 to 12 licks. Well, let me say this. I got over 100 lashes. It was about 135, according to what somebody had told me that was in that White House that night. And he claimed that no boy was ever given more than 10 to 12, and he stated that sanctioned, what we call sanctioned licks by the state of Florida. Well, let me tell you something. That is a lie, and every White House boy that heard that wanted to rip him apart. I mean, I was even denied to go to his hearing because the lawyers knew of my temper. And I was they're probably right. I'd have came out of my chair on him. I would have, and that'd have been the end of that. But I would just say that I managed to hold my life together to a big degree, even though I've been to anger management a couple of times. But, you know, what can I say, Ed? I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm perfect, and I'm not in any way. But I will take this to my deathbed. And the sad part about this whole thing is this. You had to live it as a very, very young child, and now we have to live it and take it to our grave. I think that is so sad, but, you know, that's just my opinion. But I'm here for one reason, and my reason here is to help these men get some kind of justice out of what was done to them and what they had to go through as such young children. I mean, I have men, Ed, that's been married 5, 6 times, could not hold a family together, didn't know how to love. I mean, I've heard it for so many of them. I've got men that's been in prison, out of prison, been in prison, out of prison, their whole life. And am I going to blame all of it on that school? I'm going to blame 95% of it, okay? That's my feelings, because it has been proven to be treated in that way at such a young age, kids as young as 10 years old. You will never, ever be right for the rest of your life. I don't care who you are. And it shows very well on the men that I have.